Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, we've got a beautiful graphic now. Hooray! Thanks to the amazing caricaturist who did this and my layout guy for making it pretty. It's episode 33, I think, and we got a lovely little graphic to go along with it. So today, the message is simple. You can't be pretty straight away. Start ugly. That's what I tell game designers over and over again. It's very, very intimidating to go out to any kind of demo situation with an ugly game, something that you just have stick figures on. Games are getting prettier and prettier as the Silver Age goes on. People are making extraordinarily beautiful games, and that's becoming the standard in people's eyes about what games are expected to be. And very often you'll see young game designers investing heavily in art long before the game is ready. And as we mentioned 2 weeks ago, layout is really important. Graphic design is really important. But graphic design is not the same as art. And even though both are stages of beauty, make sure you understand the difference. Art tends to cost a lot more for starters. The thing is, you have to start ugly, and you need to not be ashamed with that. You might not have a great amount of graphic design skills or layout skills. You might not have any art skills whatsoever. You're not be able to get very interesting art, but there are lots of cheats you can do to get things cobbled together. There are free or nearly free things you can get online. There's a magic card creator that's free. There's one that you can get on Steam that's like $25, I think. And they can cobble together something that looks vaguely decent in terms of layout. And, the rest can just wait. But even then, don't be afraid to go even further. Don't be afraid to show up with, stickmen, things on business cards. Don't be afraid to prototype as primitively as possible, because there's two things that are important here. The first thing is that you need to prototype as soon as possible. You cannot really understand a game until you have actually made it physically, because that is so much a part of a game. You can have an idea of sort of the maths, but you can't really get how things progress until you understand it kinesthetically and graphically. And that means you've got to put information down on a card and move those cards around on a table or a space and pass them back and forth. That's the only way you're really going to get an understanding of how people interact with that physical space and what your game is about. So you need to prototype as soon as possible, and that means you need to do it as quickly as possible, and it has to be ugly. It has to be ugly. Otherwise, you're not going to get the game out of your head and get it down. You're not going to understand the game. You're not going to be able to take it further. It can be very intimidating, that part, because you might have to make 100 cards. You might have to draw someone with a stupid beard 100 times, but that's one reason again to make it ugly, because then you can do that faster. You can make those cards faster, and you can see if the game actually works in some kind of way. Don't be afraid to make it ugly. You can always make it prettier as you go on. And you should be careful about making it pretty. Too many game designers spend too much money on art and layout too early. You have to wait until the game is absolutely 100% fixed and focused and sorted before you make things pretty and before you spend any money on something expensive as art. So for all of those reasons, you've got to start as ugly as possible. Start ugly, and don't be afraid to start ugly. Your players are going to be able to get past it eventually. There are some reasons why you want to look pretty, because it can help people to engage with the game not as just a rough draft, but that can come later. That's something, again, that you can get later, that can help when you're at a certain stage, and you can work around it. You can know that, you can tell people, look, I know that it just doesn't look professional. Give it time, adjust it for it in your mind. Try and see it as this kind of thing or that kind of thing before you approach it as a game. So you can shape your players' expectations and your playtesters' expectations so that they're not just seeing the rough mode. And that helps you get around that issue of expectation. That's the only downside of going ugly, is that sometimes it shifts expectations, but it has so many other good returns, you should be doing it. So prototype early. Go ugly because it lets you prototype early so you can understand your game. It lets you begin the process, which can take a very, very long time sometimes. So that's probably the next thing we'll talk about. But it lets you get started, and then you can always, always, always get prettier as you go along. It's always going to start ugly. It will get prettier later, just like our lovely logo. We started with nothing because that was all we had. And now we've got a pretty logo. Who knows what will happen next? If you want to make us a theme song or anything like that, please get in touch, and maybe we'll one day add, cool graphics or a guest or something. Who knows? But we started, and we've got momentum, and we've got 50 subscribers. The world is the limit. The world is our oyster. The sky's the limit, not the other way around. And who knows? So get started. Get that ugly prototype. Do not be afraid to be ugly. Pretty can always come later. That's it from me. Till next time, play games, pat dogs, be good, have fun.